but I enjoy it. I have to say, I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, well, you're not feeling too well, so I'm gonna cheers you tonight. Cheers, get better.
Lekker, Marbury. Checking all the angles with pipes, eh?
Episode 2.
Little review of the Rugby Championship.
Yeah, I think let's do that. And I've been actually looking forward to this the whole week. But yeah, I'm feeling a little bit under the weather. Didn't get a lot of sleep last night. We went for a few dops in London. But I think it's gonna be interesting, especially as we look ahead to the end of year. So I think I'll kick it off with a question to you, and then we can go from there. So,
Yeah.
do you think we played like a World Cup winning side on Saturday against Argentina?
As a World Cup winning side, probably yes.
Explain that.
So we aren't really a team that win by 40 points. We don't do it very often. We've done it every now and then, but we just like to get the forward dominance going and then accumulate the points like that. But there was 20 minutes in that game where we let it slip for a bit, but we pulled it back at the end. But I think we went in with the mindset, and we'll touch on it, all out attack somehow, but we didn't have the weapons that we needed for that. Saying that, what I mean is the general at 10, we were looking forward to it, but Old France he isn't a running fly half at his tender age anymore.
Yeah.
And I think when we try and force the issue, we start making silly errors and things like that. I still say we look like a World Cup winning team because we still got the W easily at the end of the day, with not too much fuss, and all the stats were pretty much in our favor. So in terms of that, we never looked like we were going to lose.
Yeah,
And that's
definitely. I think just to add to that, I think I agree with what you're saying there in terms of yes, first start. I agree with what you're saying there in terms of us getting the win, and being pretty much in all aspects dominant in that game. I don't think the dominance was ever brought into question, but you brought up the general, so we touched on it briefly in the week, but we were excited to see Steyn at 10, and I think the public was excited to see Steyn at 10. But could you see what I saw at least, and the guy wanted to deliver for South Africa, which is always good. But I think the moment, which is strange for a World Cup winning fly half, but I think this is how much he loves South Africa, is he wanted to deliver that moment for South Africa and win the championship for them. And I mean, some of those kicks, like his first kick didn't go out, and then he kicked one over the dead ball line after about 15-20 minutes. And I think it's just because he's so good that he was just trying to push for every single margin he could get in our favor, which we said that's what probably was going to happen. But I mean, he's only human after all.
100%. I mean, you could see it in the way that he was applying himself, that he was pushing the whole time. He was trying to push the envelope and make something happen. And more often than not, when you do that, you tend to make small errors because you're just pushing too hard, rather than just sticking with the basics, doing what you know best, and just delivering on that front. Because more often than not, that would be enough to get the dub and the bonus point. But I think our execution could have been better.
Yeah.
But I think there were also one or two things that didn't go our way, and that could have changed the outset of the game. from an earlier standpoint. But we'll go into that later as well. But I mean, look, it was going to be a big ask to beat Argentina by 39 because, I mean, they got beat in Buenos Aires the previous weekend as well. They're not just going to lie down.
No,
and
not at all.
They've got a lot of pride. So you knew they were not just going to lie down and let us take it. But yeah, I mean, overall, 38-21, still not shabby, I guess. It's still a solid win.
Yeah, definitely. Just give me 1 second. There's a tarantula. I live out in the sticks, and there's a flippin' massive spider. Bro, this thing is huge, and it's aggressive. It was coming right for my feet. I think
That's not very tarantula-like, to be
honest. I've neutralized it. Sorry about that.
When you say it's massive, I'll send you a photo of one that I found last week as well. I think I did actually. It was quite a beast as well. Okay, but I'll show you.
But getting back to it, getting back to it, I think, the Argentines, I mean, their defense, whoa, that defense was unreal, and it was like very macho defense, like it was trench warfare, like right and on like the last line of defense. I mean, we were making meterage, but as soon as it came to the try line, they weren't letting us get within a sniff of it.
It was very helter-skelter at a stage, and then they just absolutely smashed us physically, which we talked about last time as well. We said they're probably one of the only packs that could match us in physicality, and they did in some parts of that game, which kudos to them. I mean, like I said, they didn't lie down. They weren't just going to roll over and allow us to smash them by 40. So, I mean, they brought the fight. I think, look, the whole Durban was a buzz that whole week. And on Saturday as well, you chatting to most people went to the game, just was going to watch it with mates and things like that. So the vibe was unreal. I think afterwards must have been a big jewel as well.
Yes.
I mean, sure, we didn't win the championship, but still a victory.
We won the hearts and minds of South Africans.
Yeah, they're always going to have a few cold ones after a victory. It's just the way it is.
I watched the game in a pub down in Portsmouth, and we were the only South Africans there. And there were some English supporters there that are still so sour after the Rugby World Cup. So my win on Saturday was a bit nuanced in the fact that it wasn't the best game to watch from a spectator point of view. It was a bit scratchy and iffy. But I enjoyed listening to the comments from the English supporters and just letting them know that we are El Campeón.
We still have a year to say that. And hopefully after that year we can say it for another 4 again. But we'll see how that goes. That's still a way off. We'll have to silence the critics, I think, at the end of the year. It's going to be massive. We both know it's going to be so massive what we do at the end of the year, especially France and Ireland and England. Those are
those games, But
those are massive games.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves because we do have the end of year tour as a topic of discussion tonight. I've got just a couple of points that I'd love to hear your thoughts on. So the forward pack, I thought. Well, I want to hear what you think, and then I'll give my 2 cents.
I mean, our forward pack is they're just unreal. I mean, the first 20 minutes we were so dominant in that forward pack. I mean, we should have all probability scored a try in the 10th minute, which was disallowed for
We'll get into
some
that. Hold your horses.
some reasons. I mean, then we got a push over scrum try with
Yeah.
Jos just putting his hands on the ball. We haven't seen that in a long time.
Easiest
We were
try
just,
he'll ever score in a
yeah,
Bokke
no, for
jersey.
sure. It was his first one as well, eh? So congrats to all Jos. I think he had an absolute belter again. Really making that number 8 jumper his own at the moment.
Yeah,
But I mean,
without doubt.
our forward pack was just our forward pack. They did what they had to. They did the business. They delivered. From them, we couldn't expect really much more. I think. I mean, when we go through what we think the ratings are for the players, there's only one player which I feel didn't really cut the mustard, and we did discuss it again, as mentioned previously. Was all Pieter-Steph. I just think, like I said, still struggling. I think after that injury and the comeback and things, I think he's still not up to speed yet. And but yeah, the rest of the forward pack, I mean, just workhorses all over the show. Not always very flashy, but very, very effective.
Yeah, definitely. From my side, I just think I would hate imagine being in the shoes of the opposition and you strapping up to play 80 minutes against a South African forward pack. I mean, like I love playing tight rugby, but the demands on your body that must.
Look,
Kudos to Argentina because, like we said, they defended with balls there, and yeah, if you can appreciate. I know we touched on the dark arts and like the 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 finer things in rugby, the refined side. There's a lot to appreciate there. That's not always flashy and doesn't necessarily deliver points.
no, for sure. I mean, if you look at it, I think we scored 2 penalty tries with mauls as well. So, I mean, we were just so dominant up front. It was, you couldn't ask for more from the forwards. Like I said, they did the business.
Yeah.
We needed more from the backs, to be honest, just a little bit more enterprise. But the forward pack they were faultless pretty much. I think they only lost 2 scrum or two line outs. I don't think we lost a scrum, as far as I'm aware. And we just looked dominating up front. Let's be honest. There's no other way to put it.
Okay, well, let's sign off there on the forward packs and give them a big, or the forward packs, depending how you look at it, give them a big tick there. It was good to watch, and I can appreciate that. And then onto tactics. So we spoke about it last week. We thought Steyn was going to bomb it, and I think we were spot on because it's like we said, he was looking for every millimeter he could get. But do you think we were maybe a bit one-dimensional?
Look, we known for being quite one-dimensional.
Yeah.
It's the way we play. Most teams know what we're going to throw at them, but
Yeah.
it's a case of, can you stop us?
Yeah.
And a lot of the time the answer is no, they can't. And look, I think we'll probably not show our hand too much at the moment, because I think the guys behind the scenes, they're definitely working on some things, because every now and then you'll see one backline move or something that looks quite dangerous. And I just think we normally hold off. I mean, if you look at the 2019 final, there was just a lot more running and things like that that no one expected. And I think that's what we do. We keep our strike moves for the crucial moments. Sure, I think we could have perhaps done more in this game to try and win the championship, but I still maintain the point that you have to win by 40 points. It's always going to be an uphill battle. There isn't a lot of teams that can just go out and and win by 40 points. Not in international rugby, especially if the other team know that's what you need. They're going to give everything to make sure you don't get it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think you summed that up quite well there.
I mean,
we could say they were keeping their cards very close to their chest. We selected what we believe was the best forward pack going into that game. There were questions surrounding some of the backline selection. So maybe Jacques and Rassi and Co decided let's put the responsibility for today on the forwards. Let's make it make or break. And I think, you know what, the forwards delivered. We're going to touch on that moment with Eoban in the 10th minute. That goes down, that becomes a try. The floodgates open. We get our first try on the maul with 10 minutes down. Their spirits and their heads drop. It's a completely different ball game. Staines' kick goes into touch instead of going over the dead ball line. But yeah, I think all in all, tactics, maybe if you're being hypercritical, were slightly one-dimensional, but we said that they're going to play Steyn at 10, bomb it, and then just try beat them physically. And that's a brave ask against Argentina. So as a South African, as a patriot, I'm giving them a tick. I'm ticking that box.
No, look, I mean, there isn't a lot more that we could have done. I think the Argentinian defense in the back line is quite good as well. I think they know how to defend in the back division. Their scramble defense is quite good as well. So, I mean, you're not going to catch them too much with a lot of running rugby all the time. Where you catch them out is on their discipline, and that's exactly what we did. Exactly what we did. I mean, if you look at it,
4 yellows, I think.
4 yellows for Argentina. We also got 2 yellows, but again, we'll get into that a little bit later. I mean, but tactically wise, I think it is what it is. I think we'll see more, but I don't really think we could have done a lot different. I mean, after the game, there's always going to be a few discussions. Well, we should have run it more and things, but it doesn't look like our backline is equipped to do that. And I think with Linda and Jesse there, you're gonna struggle to make some magic in the midfield. If we had there on 13, perhaps a whole different story. If you have a Cheslin at 14, razzle dazzle. I mean, you could see a lot more in the back line. I mean, those are two big names that we just haven't mentioned that are injured at the moment. Two of many, exactly. So, I think if you've got old Damian Willems back at fullback as well, you'll have some solidity there. Because let's be honest, Willie Leroux on defense is shocking. He got stepped by a flank that made him look absolutely silly. He sat him down.
Oh my God.
I mean, if it's Quagga that does that, sure. Look, I mean, Gonzalez, he's very fast for a flank, but I mean, if you just don't get stepped by forward as a full, that's not.
It was like he got stepped.
It was not fun to watch. I'm not going to lie. That was not fun to watch. That was.
And that's definitely made, that flank is going to keep that one on the highlight reel for his whole life.
Oh, he's going to show the grandkids one day. No, absolutely no doubt.
He's definitely upped his stakes in the old touch rugby match, for sure.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I mean, we've mentioned it before. I mean, Willie Leroux on the attack is a sensational player.
But the Ozil of SA Rugby, as we said.
The Ozil, we've mentioned it. It's, I mean, it was a hard thing to watch. I remember sitting with a few mates watching that, and the absolute shock and horror on everyone's face. I mean, you could just laugh about it. it just wasn't nice to watch. But oh, it is what it is at the end of the day, and
Yeah.
that's where I feel with Damien there. I don't think you're stepping him anytime soon.
You know what that sidestep is for Argentina? That's a little take home. That's a little take home. They're
100%
watching.
take
They're
home.
watching that one. They're watching that one on their iPads, on Twitter, on the flight back to Buenos Aires or whatever it is. They're just saying,
I
"Hey, look
haven't
here."
I haven't gone on to the meme world, but I'm pretty sure there must be quite a few good ones
Yeah.
with that. It it looked a bit like Messi against Jerome Boateng in the Champions League. Um, that was
Yeah.
yeah, it was just something else. So I mean, rating wise, I think.
Yeah.
Do
Let's
you
go
want
into
to
that.
run through the team and let's look what we think on the ratings?
Yeah. Let's look. I mean, there's. I think let's do starting 15. Go through it as quick as we can. Otherwise, we can be out all night. And our 6 and growing subscribers don't want to be put through that.
100%, 100%.
But and then
Um,
let's pick our best substitute. But started off there. Who started that one on
so
Malherbe, France?
no, some Arabs are tight. So we had Kitsi
Three.
at Lucid. I mean, for me, solid 7.
Yeah,
Just
solid
just he
7.
was just solid. I mean,
Did the grunt
all
work.
did all of the grunt work. He's always going to make tackles. He's always going to be a menace at
Yeah,
the breakdown as well. I mean, for a prop, he gets around. He gets a lot done.
2
Um,
penalty tries. He's got to be a part of that.
oh,
So
for
yeah,
sure.
7. I'm also there for 7.
Then
Malcolm.
Malcolm, again, for me, a 7 again. I don't think it was his best game, but I
Yeah.
mean, he doesn't have a bad game in the boxes. He just doesn't have a bad game. I think a 7 did exactly what you expect him to do. Probably not as prodigious as the previous match against
Yeah.
Argentina, but I
Yeah.
think still solid 7.
And it felt like they were a bit reluctant to take him off in the end. Because, I mean, with a guy like Bongi on the bench, we up, but like we're still going for it. And then you only give Bongi 10 minutes. So to me, it
Yeah, but
shows that there's a whole new faith, or not a whole new faith, I think a restored faith in Malcolm.
I think so, yes. But I also think Bongi coming back after a 4 or 5 week injury, you don't wanna risk it, especially with the form that Marks is in at the moment. We
Yeah.
didn't need to risk it. Rather ease Bongi back into it. We know what he brings to the table. Very, very solid hooker. So yeah. Then we had El France Malherbe at tight head. For me, he actually gets an 8.
Did
I
you get
think
some scrum penalties? I mean, I know
um
that's your area of expertise.
so I want to say I think he got 2 scrum penalties. Um I mean our scrum was dominant. We didn't lose a scrum, and I know Argentina lost 2 scrums. So for me, it's normally more the tight head that will win you the pens
Yeah.
most of the time. And I mean his work rate for the
Oh, big
unit that he
guy.
is, he hits so many rucks, and he tackles a lot. Um,
Yeah.
he doesn't carry the ball that often, if you actually think about it.
Oh,
But I mean, when he carries, he gets you at least 1-2 meters most of the
over
time.
the game line, quick ball, it's out, it's fast to the backs. And so you know
Exactly.
what?
But
Just to show how solidified we are here at checking all the angles with Papes, I'm going to echo your 8, and I can't say otherwise there.
then moving on to our lock pairing, old Eben and Lewitt. For me, they were both actually quite quiet in a sense. Look, I mean, the Type 5 was dominant, but it wasn't the flashy performance that we've seen in the Rugby Championship this season. For
Lut
me,
maybe
both
did a
even
bit more. Lut outside of the tight play, I think Lut probably offered a bit more for me this game. I can recall a few runs he made. And I mean, there's no questioning them when it comes to breakdown, rucks, maul, scrums. But I can just recall
so solid.
Lut making a few more runs. But I mean, shit, if Eamon doesn't get the yellow card and gets that try, all of a sudden he's walking away with an 8. But you know what? For their
Exactly.
standard, for their standard, and just to show that we're not biased towards Eamon, let's go 7. Let's go 6. Let's go 7 for Lut, 6.5 for Eamon.
I would probably go 6.5 Lut, 6 Eamon. Eamon's yellow card was an absolute joke, but we will get into that after this.
The next topic,
But yeah, for me, I think Lut just edged Eamon in the whole game. But it was close. I mean, then moving on to the loose trio, Sia, I think for me probably a 7. He's just been solid this whole season.
Very solid.
I mean, scored a try. He's very rambunctious, I think, if that is a word. He's been very rambunctious.
Let us know
something like that. I mean, he's really had a very good Rugby Championship for me.
Do you think only a 7? Because if you look at him, he's captain, and I think there's no question his leadership is getting better and better. The way he talks to the referee. I mean, I really like it. He's got a good rapport with referees now, and even the mediator between ref and players. I know it's his job, but I think he's grown into the role. And I also think the way he made that decision and broke away and scored the try was a clutch moment. So I'm going to argue that and say he deserves more than a 7.
Okay, well, I mean, like I said, from my side, it's between a 7 and a 7.5. I think
I'll give him 7.5.
I think he's just under an 8 for me. I mean, you'll see why I say that, because I mean, I haven't really gone for more than 8.5. I think is the highest that I've gone. But yeah, so I think a 7.5 for me is fair. It's touching 8. Let's say it's touching 8. Then Pieter-Steph. Unfortunately,
we can elaborate here for I think this is an area that we need to have some debate on, because what's he had now? This year he's had three caps since injury.
Could have been a bit more. I know he played against Wales as well, did he not?
Oh, I thought he got injured against Wales. Okay, call it 4 caps.
Somewhere around there, and he just hasn't been the Pieter-Steph of old. He just hasn't. For me, I mean, I think 5 is as high as I can go. And I don't know. He just needs to find that something again. He's just missing that something at the moment. It doesn't look like he's found his feet again. I don't.
Levels. Do you think we could, like, his fitness levels could be a raw? Because I mean, like Pieter-Steph was. He was almost, and we used to sit and say this. Remember, we used to say he was like having 2 flanks on the field, like 2 people. He was he would make the tackle there, and then he would make the tackle there, and it would be like, how's he done that?
Yeah, and he would empty the tank with a full 80, and he would look like he could go another 40 minutes after that. I mean, he got yanked after 45 minutes or something, 48 minutes. Probably could have yanked him at halftime, to be honest. It's not the performance that we were looking for. We did discuss this. I'm saying 5.
That's also a testament to the player he hopefully it's not the player he was, but the player he can be. Let's rather phrase it like that.
We all know the player that he can be. I mean, he was in the World Cup year, he was the World Player of the Year. He has the qualities, he's got the mentality. I just think at the moment there's just something missing. And until he finds that something, I think we do have the depth at 7 at any loose trio position at the moment to
Yeah.
give the other guys a chance. I mean, there's a lot of guys with a lot of talent sitting at home watching. Yeah, we need to play Pieter-Steph into some sort of form, but sure, guys, we have so much talent there that it might have been.
Could we see Pieter-Steph moving to the substitutes bench and then Mostert taking on the Pieter-Steph light role like he has been doing? Because I think you see more of Mostert at the moment. He doesn't. He probably is what, like 5 kgs less. Yeah, he's probably like 5 kgs less.
He brings it all to the table.
Yeah.
But I mean, he has what Pieter-Steph always has had, and that's a engine that doesn't stop. It just does not stop at all. He just keeps on rumbling on the whole game. So yeah, I mean, it's been a tough old season, I think, so far for Pieter-Steph. But we know what he can do, and I'm pretty sure he will get back to where he needs to be. But yeah, unfortunately, this game he just didn't really rock up, to be honest.
Yeah, no, well, I share that view. And I think we'll give him the 5, and we'll say that we know what he's capable of, and then round it off there.
Yeah, I think so. Then moving on to my player of the match, Jasper Wiese.
Yeah.
Old Jas. I mean, still hasn't lost a game in a Bokke jersey this season.
Yeah.
When starting, he was phenomenal, and they yanked him after 48 minutes, which I feel was quite a shame. I think they could have given him probably 5-10 more minutes. But I mean, we've got a lot of quality on the bench that we could bring on as well. So keeping the Oaks fresh. But for me, in that 48 minutes, he was an absolute machine.
Stalwart.
Absolute stalwart. At the moment, he's making that number 8 jersey his own. There isn't really anyone in the current Bokke squad that can outgun him for that position in the form that he is. This is no disrespect to Dwayne, who is a phenomenal rugby player, but I mean, the form that Jasper is in is unreal.
So I've got 2 things on Jasper. One, I think that probably one of the easiest tries in international rugby as a personal try. I mean, the forward pack did the work to put him into that position, but I think that's maybe a bit of a thank you present for the season he's had, and he got his moment. And then secondly, I have one gripe with him is I just think sometimes he was a bit tentative going into contact, and I don't know if you noticed it. I just think there were a couple of occasions where I left and I was like, he didn't charge into contact there. He was a bit, I would never say afraid, but I was like, you can give me a bit more there. I know what you're capable of, and I want to see you bash Oaks. So I don't know, maybe it was just where I was watching, being hyper-critical.
He's coming to the end of a long season as well, so perhaps a little bit of fatigue setting in. That might be why he got yanked off after 48 minutes.
True.
But for me, I can't recall these moments, I'll be honest. But I mean, he always gives you go forward. It's just the way that he is. He is an absolute beast. And we know this. We've seen it every occasion. He puts that green and gold over his head. He brings the heat. As I said last episode, bastardry, absolute bastardry. He gives you the big hits. He gives you the big go forward, and he hits rucks hard. He hits players even harder in contact. For me, 8.5 touching 9 on a rating scale. I think if we saw 5 more minutes, 10 more minutes, we could have taken it to a 9. But I think 8.5 is probably where you should be at.
I was probably going to go 8 to 8.5 as well. So I'm happy to leave that there.
Then moving on to the backs, or
to the back line.
Okay.
No, it's the back line. Let's go.
Jaden Hendrikse, I think he was solid again. He's really growing into this number 9 jersey. He's solid. He's solid. His passing is so crispy. He's really becoming a little bit of a find of the season, to be honest. I think before the season it was just Faf. But I mean, a guy like a Herschel Yankees, who was a regular in the match day 23, I think Jaden has just completely
leapfrogged.
Changed. He's completely changed the minds, I think, of the coaches as well. Just showing what he has. Very, very busy on defense as well for a number 9. I saw a few clips of old Sways de Brain. Oh, what a legend he is as well. Absolute rugby mastermind. Just highlighting some of the defensive efforts that Jaden puts in, and he gets around the block. Very good as a sweeper defender as well.
Which we've come to know from our 9s. While we're on the topic, are you of the belief that he's leapfrogged, and I use that term again, second time in about 2 minutes, but are you of the belief that he might have done enough to secure the 9 jersey, or do you think they're saying, Faf, listen, you're going nowhere, it's yours, we need to see what options we have, because we could lose you in the blink of an eye, and we need to have people that know the system?
I think that's a very good question. I don't think he's done enough to make the 9 jersey his own yet. We all know what Faf can do. When Faf is on form, he is a phenomenal rugby player. He is probably the yardstick for 9s on defense. Absolute Jack Russell. But I mean,
box kicks wise, I think Faf's box kicks take Jaden. To me, Jaden's box kicks, they 2 out of 5
drastically. That much
they have, but they needed to. But Jaden's box kicks are 2 out of 5, whereas Faf's box kicks are probably 3-4 out of 5 in the right spot. And I think it just gives us that plays into our hands. I think when it comes to crunch moments, we'll start Faf, which is strange. That's why I don't understand why we didn't start him this weekend.
Yeah, I think Jaden's decision making and pass, look, I mean, both of them have got a very, very delicious pass. Very silky, very smooth. But I think Jaden is just that half a second quicker than Faf at the moment. Look, I mean, Faf had a big knockout in that first game. So I think he's also still just getting the head right after all of that. Maybe. So, but yeah, I mean, Jaden, he's been very good. Look, then let's go to old France.
And your rating for Jaden?
Oh, rating, sorry, 7. I would give him a 7, I think. 7, 6.5, somewhere around there.
Yeah, I would probably say 6.5. 6.5. He did what he needed to do. 6 is probably an average game. Probably did a bit more than average, so I'd say 6.5.
Yeah, agreed with that.
Okay, let's go on to Steyn.
Look, I mean, with the boot, he's an absolute monster. Sunk another 55-meter pen like the old days. That was a very strange decision, though. I loved it, but
Yeah.
I mean, we were going for the corner from the 10th minute.
Yeah.
Why on the 37th minute are you taking a 55 pen to the
Do you think
post?
that's an occasion where the guy is 2 World Cups in, he still lives for the green and gold. He wants to put smiles on people's faces, and he said, "I've got a packed Heritage Day house here. I'm going to bomb a 55
100%.
to just let the
I
place
loved it.
roar."
I'm I'm not going to lie. I loved that he did that, but if you look at the overall situation there, we should have gone for the corner. Let's be honest.
Absolutely,
Um,
absolutely.
the rest of his game, like you've mentioned, the missed touch find, the ball that rolled out of the dead ball line. He
That
had a pretty
charge
average
down,
game.
that charge down at the start. Also,
Look, I mean, do you want to call it a charge down or just a taking a player down, knocking a player out with a boot? I mean, that oak caught it flush in the face.
it's so
It
flat.
was.
Oh, we got to call it what
I
it is.
mean,
It's a charge down at the end of the day. It's
it's a
international
charge down.
rugby.
I
We
think,
got to call it that. And I think just while we're on the topic of Stain, remember we spoke about it briefly, I think, on Sunday. I think the reason he's never become a 10 is because as much as he's got skill, so much skill, and I think this is why he was a great 15, is because he needs that extra split second or 2 split seconds to make the right decision. I think at 15 he's got that extra time. He can read the game. He can influence the game correctly. But I think at 10 his mind's either working too fast or too slow, and then he ends up just carrying it up.
I think it probably goes too fast. And the thing is, I mean, he doesn't play 10 that often anymore. I mean, he's either inside center or fullback. And you could see it. Look, there wasn't really a lot of options in the squad. So I mean, for him to step up and still take the responsibility, I mean, I love that. But
Yeah.
yeah, it wasn't his best, unfortunately. For me, 5.5, I think. I wouldn't go. I really don't think we could go
Literally, you're giving
much
him
more than
half a
that.
point there just for that 50-meter bomb. That's literally what
Oh
you're
well,
giving
I'm
him.
giving him
It's a 5. It's a
5.5.
5. It's a 5
I'm
with a
giving
50-meter
giving him
bombs pass.
5.5 for 55 meters.
There we go.
So look, for me, it's a 5.5. Yeah. So that's what I think.
Yeah, I'm gonna say 5. I know I'm being critical. I know he's won us 2 World Cups, but I think we've got like we sitting here chatting like the pundits we are, and I think what we know he's capable of. He played in a pre load shedding era,
Yeah, true.
and I think yeah, I'm gonna call a spade a spade. I think it was a 5 performance from him.
I'll take that.
Yeah.
Then going to my pimpy. I don't
Can
know,
we go?
not
I think we can, with all due respect to both wings, it wasn't a game where our wings got involved at all. So I think just to save time, yeah, I'm happy to give both wings a 6. They did what they were
that's
required.
exactly the ratings I have here. 6
They
for
did
both
what
of
was
them.
required of them, and I can't fault them. It wasn't a game where our wings were going to get involved.
No. Then going on to Dialenda, I think he was very solid again. Very prodigious. Always gives you the go forward. I want to give him a 7. I think he did more. I think he was probably our best backline player. There wasn't too much going on, but I think he had quite a good game. He didn't make mistakes that I can remember. Very solid on the defense as always, and his ball carrying is phenomenal.
I think,
Not
yeah,
much more to add on that really.
he was the glue in that backline performance this weekend. He was I would say not the glue, the rock. He was just there, kept our backline stable. I think he joined the line-out once, maybe twice even.
Very possibly. Very
Um,
possibly.
So yeah, give him the 7. Can walk away happy with his performance. We know he's got more. And now on
Yeah.
to the person who he finds himself always up for debate here on this chat. Jesse Creel, your thoughts?
Um, Look, he doesn't really make defensively sound.
Yes.
Attackingly is not flashy. I don't. I just went for a 6. I'll be honest. I don't think he was terrible. I don't think he was amazing. I think he was just solid. But yeah, no real spark there. That's if you want to win by 40 points, you need a spark, and unfortunately, we didn't see that.
Could we say a person like Jesse is just like, the old saying was Stuart McGill and Shane Warne. If Stuart McGill played in any other era or played for any other team, he would have got 500 test wickets. I mean, I'm not calling Jesse Creel Stuart McGill here, but I'm just saying he's a good solid
He's
human, a
solid,
specimen, and he's
solid.
quick and he's agile. But I just like, and there's nothing against the guy. I was really, there were so many promising signs at the beginning of his career, and I don't know if it's just the fact that our style of play doesn't get the most out of him. I don't know, but you can't fault his defense. I think his defense is actually pretty good.
Yeah, no, agreed. But yeah, I mean, I just think it was a solid 6. Nothing more, nothing less.
Yeah,
We
six.
pretty much got what we expected. Let's be
We
honest.
we did. I think if you
It's
feed
exactly
your
what we
friend,
expected.
go
Um,
and watch episode 1. You'll see what we're talking about.
then moving on to fullback, Vili. This was a difficult one for me to rate. Yeah, it didn't really have as much flair as I wanted to see. He had, I think, a chance to ignite the back line in a way with France at 10. They could have brought him in at 10 more and shifted France to 12.
Agree. I agree.
And then you have the Alinda at 13 and Jesse on the wing side. And then you have Mapimpi and Moody just moving around there in the back. But I just feel, as we mentioned so many times, the defensive side is just not good enough. Um,
He
got
also he took
got
over
stepped by
kicking
the flank.
duties. Yeah, he took over kicking duties. And did you see when he put that first one out, how the crowd went wild? I was like, yo, France must feel like a bit of a boost.
Yeah, it is what it is.
What we going 5?
I'm going max 5.
Yeah, that's fine. I think you can't get stepped to that degree at international rugby there. I think as a last line of defense, you've got to be a bit more assured. Uh, and
Definitely.
we want world rugby to know that if you beat our first line of defense, whoever's at the back will flatten you, and to
I
not
mean,
even get a hand on him.
as I mentioned, if you have Damien Willems there, he's flattening that oak one way or another. He's getting that oak. If the oak steps him, he's going to chase him down and still catch him.
Yeah.
There's no chance you doing that to Damien. Then I'll just quickly list the bench because for me, I didn't see a lot really. I pretty much we had Bongi, Ox, Vincent Koch, or as we know him, Mr. Incredible. We had Sous, Franco Mostert, Dwayne, Kwacha, Faf, and Kurt Lee. For me, pretty much all of the forwards replacements, pretty much a 6, I think. Except maybe for Kwacha. He's a
He
busybody.
always gives you that much more. He
He
knows he's
gives you
got 20 minutes and he gives you all 20.
Yeah, and he just brings very high energy. But yeah, I think look, most of them probably a 6, and then Kwacha perhaps a 7. Then the back replacements that we had was Faf and Kurt Lee, as I mentioned. Faf for me, I don't want to say it, but I think probably a 5, just because of the yellow that he got as well coming in from the side. Um, contentious, yes, but still got a yellow. Took us down to 13 men, which put us under real pressure. And then Kurt Lee, I mean, I think he replaced Willie Leroux, and he was very solid. Scored a nice try, probably for me close to a 7. Just some razzle dazzle. Yeah, that's my feeling. I don't know if there's anything you want to add on that.
From the substitutes point of view, look, Bokke, he comes on, the energy levels definitely lift, and I think that's what the coaching staff are looking to do with him. I don't think he'll ever get, maybe he might get the odd starts, but he's really there just to be a solid bench player. We spoke about Bongi earlier, and yeah, I think without belaboring the chat, I think I agree with you and your rundown of the bench players. So that's a nice little recap there. First time we've done a proper player ratings, but you're getting some guests.
No, it's just Duan and Jen coming to pick up old Rambo. They went to Westville or something. So old Rambo had a little doggy play date with Max. So he's Rambo on his way back home.
Oh, yeah. So they're not making an appearance?
No.
They already left?
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, that was very quick.
Yeah, just a quick drop off and pick up.
Yeah. No, that's fine. Okay. So yeah. Okay. Let's last 2 points, I think. Oh, you want to go play on the match? You go first. Look, you said Jasper, but
it's for me. It's Jasper. There's no one really that touched him, to be honest. Maybe it's Jasper for me.
Yeah, I agree. My old man messaged me straight after the game, and he's like, "Jasper's incredible." So yeah, no, I think everyone's seeing it, and that stems well for us. Okay, without being too one-sided in our opinions, let's go with just the refereeing. I mean, I shared that video with you earlier in the week. Your thoughts there?
Look, first thing I want to say is this is an international rugby match.
Yeah.
You got fans buying tickets for a lot of money.
Mm.
You get 37 penalties in the game. 37 in 80 minutes. That's almost a penalty every second minute.
Yeah.
That's so stop-start. That's not even taking into account handling errors or anything like that.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of discussion in the whole rugby fraternity. They've actually got a new panel that has now joined the URC, where they've brought in Nigel Owens, and I think it's Stuart Berry, and I'm not sure who the other gentleman is.
Stuart Berry, is he a qualified ref now?
Yeah, Stuart Berry's been a qualified referee for a long time.
I'm saying, is he going to get some international games? Because I think
they're not coming in as referees to ref. They're going to evaluate the performances and help the referees, which I think is a very promising sign, because we all know Nigel Owens was probably the best ref at player management, keeping the game flowing, making it a spectacle. And that's what we want. We don't want to chat about the refs as we do at the moment, where it's
as frequently as we do. No.
I mean, if you talk about the ref every single game, across the whole board, pretty much, you know something's not right at the moment. And it's not just us that will say this, not just South Africans, not just Australians. It'll be New Zealanders as well, English, pretty much everyone. It's so stop-start.
I think there's too many rules. There's too many rules. There's too much. The rules and regulations have come in. I know there's a lot surrounding player safety at the moment, but they're going to they need to find a way of implementing them a bit better. I think. I mean, let's open the bag now. So we can go on the first one, and I think this touches on the point we're making now. But it's a best yellow card.
Oh,
Now that
that
is
was
one of the worst
absolutely
decisions.
atrocious.
Yeah, that's one of the worst decisions I've ever seen.
Look, I mean, there's two, I think there's two times I've seen a decision as bad as that. That was um Arsenal versus someone where the wrong oak got sent off with a red card for a handball. It was
I mean,
Kieran
yeah,
Gibbs and Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, I think,
yeah, yes,
or something like that. And I think Kieran Gibbs received the red card, but it was Oxlade-Chamberlain that
yeah,
handballed the ball
yeah.
just to prevent a goal. And then I think pretty much Alan Wynne-Jones getting a yellow card when it wasn't even him that made
In
the
the
thing in the
lines
British.
or the
Yeah, but he
yeah.
got a yellow card, but it was another player. So, I
No,
mean,
but
I rate this with that for just being ridiculous in the first place.
and
But
Faf's yellow card was also a joke in the Aussie game.
yeah, oh, okay.
So
But I mean,
let's go to Earbuns now. So Earburn is running to chase down the ball. He's being impeded.
yes,
He is within his
yes,
right to say, "Get the hell out of my way." And if the
yeah.
guy is facing the direction the ball is, to me, that's just it's something that's happening in the flow of the game. For that guy to then be pushed into, I think it was Conan Moody, and then so it wasn't even him pushed into the jumper,
No,
and then
that's the whole thing that I looked at it when I rewatched the game. I mean, the player that Eben pushed did not make contact with the guy in the air. It was
yes,
the player next to Moody that actually took out the player, and that
yeah,
player was not impeded in any way.
yeah,
And then, I mean, there's one angle where it looks like it was the other player, but then if you check the reverse angles and thing, you can clearly
yeah.
see the player that was pushed or whatever by Eben had no bearing on the impact or the collision.
And how
And
do
then
they get it wrong? Because it's three officials looking at that on the field, and then it's, I think, an official or two officials in the box. So how are, let's call it four, how are four officials getting that wrong when you and I can sit here and be like, come on, that's absolutely ridiculous. And I would be the same if it was an
that's
Argentinian player.
no 100%. I mean, that's when you start looking at I understand player safety and all of that. I understand, but I mean, guys, you cannot send off a player who's being impeded in the first place. Then the player that impedes him does not have a bearing on the actual outcome of the
Yeah,
player landing
yeah,
dangerously.
yeah,
Um, I was baffled. I was absolutely
yeah,
baffled. It absolutely blew my mind.
yeah.
And the absolute length that these decisions take to make.
Oh yeah.
It's
The game
it
took
takes
so long. The game took so long. I had a dinner reservation with people and I ended up and I should have made the dinner reservation easy and I was 20 minutes late. That's the game just went
yeah,
on and on and on.
no, for sure. So I mean, for me, it's becoming a bit farcical, and it needs to change, and World Rugby needs to look into this because it's becoming an issue, and it's most pundits around the world is saying exactly the same thing. Um, so I mean, that's just the yellow card. That's not even talking about the ninth minute. It
The
looks like they
ball.
had it in for Urban. The
They
more
did.
Urban never ever
They got over the ball.
let go of that ball.
Yeah.
For them to say that Sia had the ball and Urban transferred the ball from no, that
And
there
the
was
on-field
no
decision was a try. So it's
there
you
was
need conclusive
no
evidence to overturn the decision.
where was the conclusive evidence where you could see Sia holding the ball? There was no evidence of that. I did
Yeah.
not I did not understand that. like I said, I was baffled by quite a few of the decisions. I mean, you're going to the TMO, and then again, the amount of time it took to make that decision. I mean, it's just taking too long. It's taking away from the game. It's taking away from the spectacle. Um, and if you go, it's like the VAR system when the VAR system makes mistakes.
yeah,
I mean, it's not supposed to happen.
yeah.
If you're telling as the on-field umpire, ref, whatever, that there's a try and you need conclusive evidence, then if you
Yeah,
don't have it, it remains a try. That's the
yeah.
law.
And that could
So
have really
I was
changed the
baffled by
game.
that.
Yeah.
I was baffled by that. But those are just two calls on Eben. There were quite a few other
You want to know?
calls throughout
You
the
know,
game.
my worst call of the whole game is we kicked the ball and it went into their dead ball area, and their scrum half, uh, I think he took it over the dead ball line and he knocked it on, and they got the 22 dropout.
Yeah.
Two things. He infringed twice there. Well, there were two errors, and they still got the ball. And there's two touch judges, a television replay. I thought the TMO is allowed to step in if he sees something that's blatant, or is that only to do with foul play?
I think it's mostly only to do with foul play, but I mean, yeah, that was again.
That's a
There were a few
5 meter
strange
scrum,
calls.
push over, penalty, something like that. That's more than likely 7 points because they're also dropping their head in that situation there, and
Oh
that's
yeah,
in
because you could see the player was very distraught with himself, and
yes,
then he got the
body language.
22.
Body language should have been a
Yeah,
dead
so
giveaway.
yeah, no, definitely. So I mean, but there were quite a few calls all over the show, both ways. I mean, some that went in our favor, some that went in Argentina's favor. There's just no consistency. That's the big problem at the moment for me. There's no consistency. Um, they get pinged for one thing, and then the same thing occurs, and nothing happens. And that's, I think, what everyone's been crying out for is we need the consistency and we need the reffing, um, the officials as a team to be more cohesive in their decision making
Yes.
and more clinical and also just more.
There's got to be accountability. At the moment, it feels like refs can have a shocker and they don't get pinged for it. They need to be penalized in some way as well so that they know they're being held to account. Because at the moment, it feels like they're making bad calls. And I mean, I know Roman Poit did that very controversial thing in the Australia-New Zealand game, and that's a talking point.
That,
But
that
I
was
think
Matthew Reynal.
Oh, Matthew Reynolds, sorry, my mistake. But I think, like, to me, that was ballsy. And that's
He,
that, like I said, that's a talking point. But the errors that I'm seeing referees make, if you're making an error when it's shown on the big screen as well, that's to me, that's there's got to be accountability for that. If it's an in the moment thing and you get it wrong, that's fine. But if it's something that you went to the TMO for and that's an error, there's got to be
yeah,
there's got to
yeah,
be
definitely.
penalization.
We just want consistency. At the end of the day, that's all we're asking for, and just let the game flow. Let the game flow. Um, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of rules, and I understand that, and there might be too many and whatnot, but we haven't. There was a long period of time where we didn't have issues with any of this. It
Yeah.
it just feels like the last since the
Post COVID,
post-COVID has just been it's been different. The refs have been very strict on all facets of the game,
they
and
got
it just
loaded and
feels like
knocked
it's
down.
it's yeah, it's just taking away from the spectacle, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's too stop start for me. It's just not it's not pleasant at times to watch, and it's frustrating. Let's be honest, it's frustrating.
Almost like watching in NFL.
NFL, exactly. I mean, it's becoming like that. Because games are, it's like you said. I think the Australia-New Zealand game last week as well. I remember the New Zealand panel of pundits on the breakdown discussing it, where they also said the game, the first half was about an hour. So I'm pretty sure I did hear rumors though that they are going to trial some new methods on speeding up the game, which I'm very much for. Look, I mean, it's something that we have notoriously been known of slowing the game down, in a sense, walking slow to line outs, things like that. But I mean, for me, I feel we need to speed it up a bit, just get the spectacle going.
From a spectator's point of view, we've got to get it a bit quicker.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's an absolute vibe when you're at the stadium and things like that. You don't mind them playing a bit longer, probably, but you want the show. You're there for the show. And
also,
if you constantly
you're putting the meat on the brow, you're putting the thing in the oven, and you know it's supposed to be in there for 40 minutes, and next thing you know, you're burning your chow because it's taking 60 minutes to do a half.
Exactly. So for me,
yeah,
there needs to be a big focus on this, and it needs to get sorted out sooner rather than later before the World Cup. We need the consistency. We need a bit more from the refs. I think.
I agree. Yeah, so we've touched on that now. I think to wrap it up, we've got to give them their time in the sun. So well played, New Zealand, and particularly, I know that World Rugby's known for some time now that Beauden Barrett is an incredible rugby player, but Jordie Barrett in the last 12 months, oh my word, the quality that he has on show and this BNT. I also think he's put on a bit of weight, muscle, and size. But I watched the highlights of the game this last weekend, and he's an incredible 12. I would argue, I know we rate the Islander, but I would love to see Jordie at 12 and I'm at 13. Because I think Jordie can play as well.
I know he's got a lot of ball that he has. So look, yeah, New Zealand 40, Australia 14. They did the business at the end of the day. They knew what they had to do. They knew they had to rack up some points. They knew they needed the bonus point. At the end, they just snuck in the bonus point there. If Australia scored another try, New Zealand, I don't think they would have got the bonus point. Because New Zealand also did take a few 3-pointers, if I'm not mistaken.
I took one or two at the end there, but it was very strategical in terms of the big picture.
Yeah, so look, they dominated Australia. Australia's discipline was shocking. Jordie Barrett at 12, he really stepped it up. I know he's been playing at 12 for the Hurricanes quite a lot in the last year, as mentioned. I think New Zealand shifted him to the fullback role to see what he can bring to the table there. He has performed at fullback.
I prefer him at 12.
There's been a lot of chatter about that. There's a lot of people that do prefer him at 12. For me, personally, I would actually agree. At the moment, the All Blacks, look, they've lost Quinta Paya for 9 months with that horrendous injury that he picked up from Darcy Swain. Jordie really stepped it up in this game, showing that he can do it on the biggest stage as well. Yeah, I think kudos to the man. He really played a solid game. He gave them a lot of go forward. His hands are phenomenal. His general reading of the play is brilliant.
Yeah.
You could see, look, those Barrett brothers, they must have been an absolute nightmare at school level to play
Yeah,
against.
absolutely.
I mean, Bowden at 15 was solid as well. He brings a different dimension. I think, look, at the previous World Cup, they tried the Muanga Barrett thing at 10 and 15. I believe they missed the trick for a long time by not sticking with that. I think at the end of the day, since New Zealand have brought Muanga in at 10, their
Yeah,
game has become more structured again.
yeah.
Um,
Not a one-man band anymore. I think,
Structured, unstructured play, if that makes sense.
yeah,
Mwanga's reading of a game and knowing what to do on the attack is phenomenal.
he
He
gets more
is,
out of his backline than Bowden for me, because
yeah,
Bowden is
agreed.
incredible. He can run round guys, through guys, sidestep them.
Mwanga's
He
got a
can chip
better
and
pass.
chase.
He's got a better
Yeah,
kick. Bowden is incredibly fast. Richie Mwanga is also incredibly fast, though. But I think Mwanga is a better general
yeah.
than Bowden. Look, I mean, Bowden was World Player of the Year twice, but I feel Mwanga is making that number 10 jersey his own at the moment. And Bowden at fullback is a very exciting prospect for them. If they can get that right, that is a very, very dangerous thing, because then you've got essentially three playmakers. You've got Mwanga at 10, Geordie at inside as a playmaker as well, and then you can have Bowden that can just do pretty much whatever he wants there in the backs. I mean, that is a scary thought. Then Rico Ioane has really transformed himself into an outside center, and he has been phenomenal. Probably for me, one of their standout players of the year so far.
Yeah,
He had a tough time of it against Ireland, I feel, and that first game against us. But again, he makes clean breaks. He makes running meters. His defense is phenomenal.
yeah.
I mean, try saving tackles. He's made so many this season alone. Um, Big clutch player as well.
So
Um,
with what you're saying now, I think I mean, the way you're putting it, I know that probably aren't really in the discussion for the first time in 2 decades, but I think an outside punt on New Zealand to lift the Webb Ellis, I mean, from a looking to make your money back kind of bet, I think I might do that.
think, look, they had a very tough start to the season. They were looking all over the show. I think bringing in James Ryan as the forwards coach was a master stroke. He's brought a lot to that forward pack. You can see their forwards absolutely smashed Australia, absolutely smashed them. Their driving maul is very potent at the
They've
moment.
always got that. New Zealand have always got the best or one of the best, or New Zealand are the best or one of the best in terms of technique, whether it's forwards or backs.
Yeah,
And I think you see it when it comes to set pieces, because they're not necessarily the
yeah,
biggest, but they get the most out of their players.
yeah. And one thing that I've also picked up is their little system that they're doing now with the three forwards and then the little ball in behind and things like that. They've always been doing it, but it felt like at the start of the year they were struggling to get it right.
Yeah,
And I think the last four games they've clicked again, and
yeah,
they've gone to their strengths. And I mean, you can see the understanding between the backs is there now, and that's a dangerous prospect. It's a very dangerous prospect. That one try that Will Jordan scored, where Geordie
the
Barrett
chip and
just held
chase.
on the inside, and he just held the defender long enough for Will Jordan to get into the gap and run straight through. And Will Jordan, I know he wants to play fullback. He said it publicly, but he he must focus on becoming the right wing, I feel. I don't think he's going to get a chance at fullback at the moment. And on the wing, he is unbelievably dangerous as well. I mean, that boy has got gas. He is quick.
These
And
outside backs from New Zealand, whenever they're given time on the ball just to assess the what's in front of them. I mean, I'd hate to play these guys in chess because they're probably flipping good. They can check 3 or 4 moves ahead. But
no, for sure.
no,
For sure.
look, what a lovely chat. From my side, as you like that last one for this evening, I think it's been a roller coaster of 90 minutes. And we touched on some awesome points. I was salivating at the prospect of this discussion, and yeah, it's been very cool as always.
Look, I mean, it's always fun. I'm glad we're still doing it. It's something else. It's better than just doing it over WhatsApp message and things like that.
Yeah.
And so I mean, just to wrap it up from my side, congrats to the All Blacks. Beat or won the Rugby Championship on 19 points with the Boks in second on 18.
Yeah.
Look, they were written off after the first game, and they've just shown that they still have the pedigree. Write them off at your own peril at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I mean, they're starting to click back now. They've got Joe Schmidt in the team as well, in the coaching team. I think they've got all of the right ingredients to get back to where they want to be. For the Boks, I mean, it's been an up and down season, but I mean, most teams it's been an up and down season at the moment. Salivating for the end of year tour. That's going to be epic. We'll probably do a little dive into that at some stage as well. Also, URC, I don't know if you really watch that at the moment. SA teams are looking good this season so far.
That's good.
So just a little shout out to old Ivan Ruiz again. Scored an absolute scorcher of a try for the Stormers. Just still showing the selectors like, guys, I'm still here. So yeah, it's
promising.
It's promising things. I think where we at the moment with SA Rugby, very healthy, a lot of competition, and I mean, so far so good-ish, but I think there's more to come. I'm pretty sure there's more to come.
Okay, well, we've checked all the angles. Thanks for a
We've
good
checked
chat.
all of the angles, 100%. Look, I mean, hopefully, old Marius and Papes have a chance to check all the angles as well. I think their decision making would have been a bit quicker. But always an absolute pleasure, and have a lovely weekend, my bro.
You too. Stay safe.
Right.
Get better.
Lacquer, man. And for everyone that will tune in, all 10 or 11 of you, hopefully you're enjoying it as well. And cheers for now.